this girl we knew, her uncle was, he owned the house. Have you seen the show Entourage? Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he owned the house that at least like 2 seasons of the show were filmed in. And she's like, yeah, we can go up there for the weekend. I was like, oh, awesome. And so it's funny, we drive all the way to Beverly Hills, like a 2.5 hour drive, and up this private road to this, this beautiful mansion. And the door's locked. And she kind of lied or, misled us about having permission to go to the house. And so I'm like, are you fucking kidding? And anyways, excuse me. So I ended up finding, I saw like a door-sized window, like on the side of the house. And so I maneuvered my way up there, pushed on the door, and it just popped open. And I was like waiting for an alarm to go off. Like, okay. So I walk in, open the front door, and we're in. And then I was like, oh man, I really need some heroin, but I don't want to drive down to Southgate, And so I called the guy and I was like, hey man, we've got a huge mansion. There's only like 7 of us.
This is why you don't let your niece bust into your house with her junkie buddies.
We'll just wait. And I was like, yeah, if you can, I know you don't typically do deliveries, but if you could bring me an order, you're welcome to stay and bring whomever you want. So he brings like two big Mexican dudes and like 10 big booty Latina beautiful chicks. Like, yeah. And a candy dish with all these different pills, Valium, Xanax, Oxys, just all that, and at least an 8-ball of Coke, a giant bag of Coke. And those were just party favors. And he brought me my order, obviously. And so we spent the night partying, hanging out in the indoor pool, doing lines off of, girls' stomachs. And it was a wild, crazy time. I mean, it was like literally like the show Entourage, but like junkie version, just going on inside.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Did the uncle ever come back?
Well, so the next morning, and thank God.
Were you in high school at this point?
Yeah, I was 16, I think. It's so because I was going back and trying to like remember things, and it's like some of it is so blurry that it's hard to like wait when, how old was I, and have to like kind of like.
I grew up in that area, so I know what you're talking about.
So yeah, the next morning, myself and a few other people leave, and
did you sleep at all or just play through?
No, didn't sleep for a second. And yeah, left the next morning with a few of my buddies, and the game bangers departed.
And the big booty Latina girls too.
Yes, they left as well. So I go back to Orange County, and the next day, a police officer comes to our house. And there's like a female investigator, and she's like asking me questions like, were you at this house and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I was there she's like, were you there like Saturday? I was like, no, I was there Friday. I was there Friday. I was told we were allowed to be there because I thought it was breaking and entering. That's what I assumed. And so I was like, I was told we were supposed to be there, allowed to be there. And, so, and she's like, well, you're not aware that portion of the house was burned down? And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? And so she proceeds to tell me the story. Apparently, some of the other people that the girl invited out for the next night, one person got really high, fell asleep with like a frozen pizza in the oven or something like that, and started a fire. And instead of like trying to put it out, they just left. and
drug addicts are all the same, aren't they?
And so there's like literally smoke billowing from this, and it's like on a hill, like too. So like you can see it from like like a very far away.
It is called Beverly Hills. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And so like they're driving down the hill as the fire, the ambulance and the cops are coming up the hill, and the cop flips a U, and he's like, because it's a private road, it only leads to that house. And so they're like, are you leaving that house? They're like, no. Idiots, no, of course not. We weren't there, lying. And then the cops are like, come on. So, I think one of them ended up getting charged with like fleeing the scene of a crime or something like that, but nothing serious came out of it. But yeah, it was wild. And like when she told me that, I was like,
How did they know you were there?
because the house owner basically gave her a list of everyone who was there. Like the girl who took us out there basically gave the investigator.
But it was her uncle's house.
Yeah. He owned it.
Here's the facts of life you may not learn until you're older, but I'm going to tell you now. It's very hard to have a good time if you're wearing bad boots. In fact, it may be impossible, and that's why you need Tokovas. As a matter of fact, you don't just need them, you owe them to yourself. Tokovas makes Western boots for everybody, ranchers, real ranchers, lifelong cowboys, first-time boot buyers, and anyone in between. Every Tokovas boot is handcrafted, made by hand, with over 200 meticulous steps for a broken-in feel right out of the box. You don't have to compromise between looks and quality. You can have them both. Whether it's a long day or a big night, Tokovas are built to last and impressed. You wouldn't believe the compliments people here get when they wear them out, which they do. Right now, get 10% off at Tokovas.com/Tucker when you sign up for email and text alerts. That's 10% off at Tokova, TECOVAS.com/Tucker.
So as you're doing lines off the navels of big booty Latinas with your gangbanger heroin dealer buddy in some girl's uncle's house where Entourage was filmed, what are your parents thinking at this point of like what you're doing?
Well, my parents, God bless them. They're so naive, and like, my dad, had this consistent belief that, our kids will do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because of the consequence that could come from it. And, as noble as that is, it's just, it doesn't work. You have to have consequences. Otherwise you will run rampant and think you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. It's not how
I don't
it is
judge them. I grew up around, they sound like Southern Californians in their attitudes that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And, my dad was just, very, had a very strong moral conviction that, he believed just was passed on to us. And so my parents were, again, had no idea what was going on until kind of another story. Basically, long story short, I had a friend who was put into a coma. We were at a party, and this guy came out really angry and just punched my friend in the face. He fell, hit his head, put into a coma, and he wakes up 3 weeks later, and my mom is there. I wasn't there. My mom was there, and he says, "Patty, you need to get Chris away from." And she named, some of the kids that I was associating with. And she said, "Why?" Because they were at my house. That
was the first thing he said when he came out of a coma?
Yes.
Well, God exists.
Yeah. God bless him. Really, it was. And then, of course, at the time, I was like that. Snitch. That kind of mentality. It's like, why are you trying to rain on my parade? I'm just having a good time. But yeah, my friends tried several, my quote unquote stoner friends tried several interventions. And I was just like, extremely defensive and like, who are you people to tell me anything, but again, they had my best interest at heart. And
of course.
And many of those people I'm still in contact with today. And, I'm so grateful that they, took the time and the effort to try to save me from myself.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.